What is up guys, my name is Warren. So in this tutorial I'm going to build a to-do app using React.js. For the design I'll be using Bootstrap. Before we go into the tutorial, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe. It really motivates me to do more and more useful tutorials. Okay, let's get started. Open up your VS Code and let's create our project. So npx create React app. Let's call it my to-do. So now go into the project folder. So you can simply type cd and the project name, or else you can go to file and open folder and select the folder. Now open up the terminal. So click terminal and new terminal. And for the design, I'll be using Bootstrap, so I'm going to install Bootstrap. npm install Bootstrap. The version is 5.1.0. I recommend you to use the exact version that I use. Okay, press enter. Now go to source folder and open index.js. Now we are going to import our Bootstrap CSS file. So import bootstrap /dist /css /bootstrap css. Now open app.js. So clean up this code. Div class name, it's a container, so this class is from Bootstrap and it has a border, so border, and let's give a color to the border, so border primary and rounded, and let's give some space on the top of the container, so margin top 5, right? And also we can give a background image, so style background, and we are going to use template literals, so backtick URL. Let's find an image on Google, so go to Google and search any background images and select the image you want, and you can simply copy image address, right? I have already selected an image, so I am going to get that URL, so right click, copy image URL, so I am going to paste it here. Then the image should be cover the full size, so background size it should be cover. Let's create a component called ToDo. So let's create a folder. Let's call it components, and here I am going to create ToDo component. So new file todo.js. To create our component, I have already installed a plugin, so whenever I type RFC, that means React Functional Component, I will get this. So you can install that. Just go to this extension tab and you can search React or Redux, the first one, right? Just install that, right? I have already installed it. So now I'm going to create a functional component, so RFC, React Functional Component. Now I'm going to create our design, so it should be another container, so class name container, then row. Then I'm going to give a heading, so h1, the class name. Let's give some margin top, so empty 3. The text should be white, so text white. Let's say to-do app. And now we are going to import this component within container. So go to app.js. Inside this div, we are going to import to-do component. So to-do. You can see the to-do component is automatically imported. For the auto import, you should install a snippet called auto import. So just search auto import. Here, this is the snippet. Now let's start our app. So npm start. Now you can see an error message. It says our component should be in uppercase. So let's change it. It should be uppercase, so capital T. Save it, and here you need to change it to. Save it. Let's check it again. Right, it's fine. Now you can see our heading here and the background image. Under the title, we need a text box and a small button. So let's go to VS Code, go to ToDo component. Here I'm going to create a text box and a button. Text box should be big and the button should be small. So let's create a div, class name, and let's give a size. So call 8. And here I'm going to create the input. So input, the name, let's call it task, and the type is text. Then there should be a value. So value, it's empty now, and let's give a placeholder. Let's say write your task, then class name, form control. Now let's create a button. So another div, class name, the size should be 4. Close it. Button, class name, button, btn, the color should be blue, so btn primary, and form control. Now we are going to use an icon inside this button. So now go to your browser, now search material icon CDN. So material icon CDN, okay, and select the first one. You can add the material icon using npm, or you can clone. So here you can find the CDN link. So I'm going to copy it, minimize it, and now open public folder and open index.html and paste it inside the head. So I'm going to paste it under the title. So now let's change the title to save it. Now go back to ToDo.js, and here we are going to show an icon. So I'm going to show a plus icon. So here the class name is material icons. For the plus icon, I'm going to say add. Now let's check it. Yes, you can see the plus button is here. Here I made a mistake. It should be class name. So S, then it should be capital. Save it. Yeah, fine. We need to store the task in a state. So we are going to use useState. So here we need to import it. And here let's say const, or let's call it task, set task. And the initial state is empty string. Whenever you type in the input, the text should be stored in this task. So here on change, an arrow function. So we are passing event as a parameter, and we are going to set the task. So set task, then we are going to get that text value. So e.target.value. Now under this section, I'm going to show a message. So go back to VS Code, div, class name, it should be batch, right? And here say you have. If you don't have any task, it should say no task. If we have one task, it should be one task. If it is more than one, it should be plural, right? So first there is no task. So here task dot length, it should say no task. Or if there is one task, it should be one task. So tasks dot length, if it is one, it should be one task, right? And if it is plural, so task dot length is greater than one, it should be the number of tasks. So I'm going to use template literal tasks dot length, and the space, it should be plural to tasks. Otherwise it should be null, right? Okay, now I'm going to create our task. So it should be an array. So const tasks, set task, and the initial state should be an empty array, right? So save it. So currently we don't have any task. Okay, now let's check our app. Yeah, it says you have no task. Now we are going to store all of our tasks in an array. So in the button on click, I'm going to create a function to add our task to an array. So add task. Now I'm going to create this function. So const add task, it takes event as a parameter. So e, right. If there is a task, we should store it in the array. So if task, we are going to create a new task. So const, let's say new task, let's give an ID. So we can use the current time as an ID. Let's create an object. So it has an ID. Let's give current timestamp as an ID. So new date dot get time, and I'm going to change it to string. So to string. And also let's say title. Title should be task, and it should be date, not data. So date. So we have created our object. So we are going to send the object to the task here, right? So we are going to set the task. So set tasks. So array, and we are going to clone the previous data, right? So it should be task. With the previous task, it's going to add our new task. So new task, right? So now we are going to store this data in the local storage too. So local storage, set item, let's call it local task, and we are going to change it to JSON format, and we are going to store that. So JSON stringify the previous task. I'm going to add our new task, right? The same thing. So whenever you click the button, it should add your task in array. At the same time, it should save that array in local storage. After that, we should clear the data. So set task, it should be empty. Let's check our app. Go back to your browser. Right, currently we don't have any tasks. Let's type something. Okay, cleaning my room. I am unable to type here. Okay, now go back to VS Code and come down here, and here the value is empty. So the value should be task. Save it. Now let's check cleaning the room. Let's add. Here you can see you have one task. Go to gym. You have 2 tasks, right? It's working fine. Currently we have 2 tasks. And now we are going to show the task below this. So under the div, let's show all of our tasks. So tasks, we are going to map that. Let's call it task. Let's return React fragment. We should give key, so we can use the ID. So task dot ID. Now let's display the task. So div, the class name is call11. Inside the div, span, the class names are form control, and the text should be white. So bg white, btn, and the margin top is 2. So empty 2. And let's give some styles. So text align left. Let's make it bold. So font weight bold. Let's show the task title inside the span. So task.title. Alright. Next to this, we are going to display a delete button. Let's create a div. The size is 1, so call 1. Inside the div, button, the class names are, margin top should be 2, so empty 2, and the color should be yellow, so btn warning. Then we are going to display a delete icon from material icons. So in material icons, delete. Alright, let's check the design. I think I made a mistake. The button should be positioned next to the task title, not under it. So go back to VS Code. In the 48 line, I made a typo. the class name should be col11 single L, not double L. Now let's check it. Pretty good. Okay, go back to VS Code now. Now let's create a delete function for the delete button. So on click, an arrow function, and let's call it handle delete, and we are going to pass the task as a parameter. Okay, now let's create a handle delete function. So const handle delete, let's call the parameter as task. Okay, now create a variable, let's call it deleted, and we are going to get all the tasks without the current task. So we are going to use filter method. So task dot filter, let's call it tid not equal to task id. Now let's set the task. So set task and pass deleted. Okay, also we need to change the task in the local storage. So local storage dot set item local tasks, and we need to convert a variable to JSON and stringify. Okay, fine. Now let's create a clear button. If we have tasks, we should display a clear button, otherwise we don't need to. So if there are no tasks, we should return null. Otherwise, inside a div, a button, the class names are btn, the color should be gray, so btn secondary, margin top is 4, as well as margin bottom is also 4. Now let's create on click event. Let's call it handle clear. Okay, now let's create the handle clear function. So const handle clear, let's clear all the tasks. So set task empty array, and now let's clear the local storage. So local storage dot remove item, and the name of the item is local tasks. Now let's check our app. Let's clear all the tasks. So click on clear button. It's working fine. Study JavaScript, making tutorials, share this video. Okay, fine. Now let's refresh the browser. All the tasks are gone, but the tasks are already stored in the local storage. Let's get those data from local storage. So go back to VS Code. We are going to use juice effect, so we need to import it first. Okay, juice effect, an arrow function. If there are data in the local storage, we should set the data to tasks. So if local storage dot get item, the name is local tasks, then create a variable, Let's call it stored list equal to, we need to convert the local storage data to JSON. So json.parse local storage dot get item. The name is local tasks. Now let's set the tasks. So set tasks stored list. Okay, you can see a yellow line under use effect. Let's check the warning message. It says React hook use effect contains a call to set task. Without a list of dependencies, this can lead to an infinite chain of update. To fix this, pass empty array as a second argument. Okay. Now let's check our app. Go back to browser. Now you can see all of our tasks. Let's refresh the browser. Our tasks are still here. Okay, we have successfully created a ToDo app. If you have any doubts, please comment below and don't forget to like this video. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. It really means a lot to me. Thank you guys. See you in the next tutorial.